different stream started here, not only on Facebook Live, but also on YouTube as well. So streaming on both platforms here, and we'll see how this works out. I haven't worked with this particular platform from home before, but we will give it a shot and see how it works over the coming few minutes as we go through this evening, because I did want to talk about a few issues we have going on this afternoon and this evening. We have a little bit of snow trying to work in from the south. I will tell you that right now we do have most of the snow down in the Portland area. I'm going to check my audio here for the coming few minutes as we go through the... Okay, you'll hear a little feedback there. I apologize. I'm going to kind of dial that back just a hair. And let me load this up so I can actually see your comments. Again, there we go. Hi, Elizabeth. Good to see you in there. Okay, for the rest of this evening, what we have out here right now, you see a mass of very significant snow actually down toward the Portland area this afternoon. And this is not coming our way. Notice how this snow is moving on off to the northeast. That is some good news for Western Washington. However, I will also point out that the coastal radar out here is not operational. It failed again today. We've had some transmitter failures out there with the National Weather Service radar at Langley Hill out toward the coast. So unfortunately, we're not able to see out in the Pacific Ocean. Not completely flying blind, but it would be nice to have that radar, but we don't have it. So there is some precipitation out there in the Pacific Ocean. We can tell that by looking at the cloud structure out here. You see how these clouds, there are quite a few clouds that are kind of bubbling up out there. That's the indication of some convection or some rising air motions in the clouds. So through the rest of this evening and into tonight, some of that was going to be working into the Puget Sound region. Now, let's take a quick look at what we've seen over the past little bit in terms of observations at some of the local airports. And yeah, Matt, I'm doing this from home. I'm trying. Thank you, Stacy. I appreciate that. I'm working with a different microphone here. You might hear a little. I got a high-powered microphone here now. That's the Heil PR40, Heil Audio. It's a good microphone. May have to get a different stand for it because it does make a little noise when I touch this table. But yeah, I wanted to set this up to do some of these Facebook Lives when I'm not at work to give you a little more sense of what's happening there. Marianne, I appreciate that as well. Sandra, hello from Arlington. Penny, hello to you as well. Elizabeth is over in Scotland. Wow, you're visiting family, missing Newcastle, Washington. Excuse me. Elizabeth, looks like Newcastle will get a little bit more snow tonight. In fact, higher hills are likely to pick up a little more snowfall than lowland areas closer to Puget Sound, simply because of the setup in the atmosphere now. But over the past hour, we had a little bit of snow reported at the Narrows Airport, a little light snow. Also had a little bit of light snow reported at the Olympia Airport down here. And I would not be surprised to have a few flakes flying across South King County. You see Renton generally in the center of your screen. You see Seattle and Bellevue just off the north part of center of your screen, and a little bit of light snow trying to work in. The predominant precipitation type this evening is going to be snow mixed with a little bit of rain at sea level. Temperatures are still running warm enough generally for a little bit of light rain. 36 in Seattle, 38 degrees at Renton, as well as Boeing Field. And I'm going to check the observations from aircraft coming in and out of SeaTac Airport, then I'll get into the evening forecast. And we're looking at the snow level. The snow level probably right now anywhere between 200 and 400 feet around the Seattle area, King and Kitsap County, although it could very well fall lower. When we get a marginal event like that, it's not completely imprecise, but we will have lowering snow levels through the evening. I'm not expecting much snow at all. A slushy, dusting to a slushy inch. The thing that we have going for us for a little bit of snow to stick is that our roads are very cold. Our roads are pretty much at freezing or slightly above. And that means that the surfaces will simply freeze up later tonight and into tomorrow. In fact, here in just a moment, I will pull up the current road temperatures, and then we'll look at tomorrow morning, which looks a little more interesting regarding Looks a little more interesting regarding the possibility of a bit of ice on the roads early tomorrow morning. We'll look at current road temperatures. Yeah, let me pull this up here for you. Let me go over here to this scene. Current road temperatures might be a little hard to see. This is a website that you can see. Go to just Google Seattle Snow Watch. It's put together by the city of Seattle and the University of Washington. And what you're seeing here in the center of your screen is the immediate Seattle area, and you see the greens. These are actually the road surface temperatures. There are sensors embedded in the road that give us the temperature of the streets actually, and you see some greens there, greens on some relatively well-traveled roads, meaning temperatures at or above freezing. You see some blues there though as well, and those are temperatures that are at or below freezing. So our road surfaces, not only here, but if I widen this out across a good part of Western Washington, I'll get to the latest image. There we go. A lot of Western Washington roadways, you can't pick out individual temperatures, I know, but the fact that they're green means that the road surfaces are slightly above freezing. It's not going to last for long, because into this evening we're going to see those temperatures come back down, and we'll have roads that are supportive of actually having a little bit of snow sticking. So what are we looking at? Down in the Olympia area, I'll refresh this image because we had a little snow down there. It looks like, just refreshing that image, that we have a little more light snow going on down in Olympia. Down in the Portland area, goodness, take a look at that. I can't blow that up any larger, it seems. I'm still trying to get the hang of this software that I have, but you see there as I scroll down, that's Vancouver, Washington, with some snow flying down there with temperatures of 30 degrees. They're having a worse time of it down in the Portland area than we are here, and then we will have here in Western Washington as far as snow goes, at least in the Puget Sound region. The best chance for snow, let's get to it, to stick is going to be in southwestern Washington, as well as higher hills around Puget Sound. North of Seattle, we have a much lower chance of snow, but this is this evening. Essentially take a 6-hour snapshot on this one forecast model, the GFS forecast model, and this is a snapshot later this evening of some snow, and then you see the pink there. The pink is freezing rain, or the potential for freezing rain. And that's my greatest concern around all of Western Washington overnight and tomorrow. If we get a slushy inch or two of snow, it's not going to be a big deal. The better chance for heavy snow is actually going to be in a very thin sliver around Hood Canal, Seebeck, Brennan, Belfair, potentially down to Shelton, because we'll have cold air hanging on there longer into the overnight while we warm up aloft everywhere else, and we have raindrops that fall to the surface and freeze on contact. Notice as we go to the deeper into the overnight hours, this is overnight into tomorrow, and notice how we have just green around most of the Western Washington lowlands. Tonight and early tomorrow morning, my greater concern is actually going to be the possibility of some freezing rain. Now, what is freezing rain? Let's take a look at this graphic here. This has been a pretty good graphic to take a look at, and I'll get to your questions and comments here in just a few moments. What we have out there this afternoon and into the early evening is generally snow on the right-hand side of this graphic, where the entire column of air between the surface and the cloud base is below freezing. More or less. You could have a few slightly warmer pockets, but not enough to melt the snowflake that falls out of the cloud. So it reaches the surface as snow. I'm not concerned about sleet, which is where you have raindrops, snowflakes that melt into rain, and then they refreeze because they hit a colder layer of air on their way to the ground, and they fall in the form of ice pellets. What I'm more concerned about is the second sort of column there, if you will, freezing rain. We will have a warmer column of air aloft as we go into tomorrow morning. So you can imagine that the bottom few thousand feet of the atmosphere is above freezing, potentially up to about 40 degrees. Snowflakes that fall out of clouds will melt into raindrops on their way down to the ground. However, right at the surface, I expect that the temperatures are still going to be right at or a little below freezing. Cold air weighs more, if you will. It's more dense than warm air. So when warm air comes in, it's going to ride up and over cold air. It's not necessarily going to push it out of the way. Warm air is less dense. You can think of it being less powerful. So it comes in and it holds in a layer aloft. So the raindrops can come down, and if they strike a surface that's below freezing, whether it be roadways or your car windshield or railings or your sidewalk, it can freeze into a glaze. The fortunate thing that we have going for us tonight and early tomorrow morning, let's take a look at this high-resolution rapid refresh computer model. This runs every hour, and it's a pretty good forecast model. Notice by here in the next hour or so, a little bit of snow mixed with rain around the Sound. Notice how that really does start really taper off tonight. We'll have some pockets of light freezing rain or light snow into about the midnight hour. Now, this forecast model is saying, there's not going to be a whole lot of moisture to work with tonight. That's good news. I know a lot of folks want moisture, cold air, let's go, let's have some snow. The problem we have in this situation is once we get beyond about midnight tonight, there's going to likely be enough warm air in the atmosphere above the surface where we won't be able to get snow. We're just going to get ice. And frankly, nobody wants ice because it doesn't take much ice to cause problems with power lines and taking down tree limbs. Fortunately, we're going to be going through a period overnight and early tomorrow morning where the moisture is going to be pretty scant. That doesn't mean that we won't have icy spots tomorrow morning, especially on the untreated roads and your sidewalk. Be really careful tomorrow morning. Even if it looks like it's dry outside, be really careful and don't just let the kids run outside, or if you're heading out to get the paper or whatever early tomorrow morning, just watch out on the sidewalks because our ground temperatures now are pretty much at freezing. And the temperatures early tomorrow morning are going to be at or below freezing. So any raindrop that falls tonight or drizzle, it can just be mist. It can form a glaze of ice. I'm sorry, I hit the microphone. I know you can hear that. Glaze of ice. The ice isn't going to last long because as we get deeper into the morning tomorrow, this will just be all rain and temperatures are going to be rising up into the 40s. And then we'll have a few days of just warm rain. So it really is a brief period. Tonight and early tomorrow morning, starting off with some snow, so you could see some snowflakes in the coming few hours, and then we go into a period that primarily impacts tomorrow morning, where there could be some ice on untreated roadways, wouldn't be a significant amount of ice, and possibly just some patches here and there. Bridges, overpasses, more susceptible to that. Your sidewalks, more susceptible than roads that people have driven on. So be really careful tomorrow morning. I don't want people to end up in the ER tomorrow with or kids with broken arms because they ran outside, hit a patch of ice on the driveway or the sidewalk and slipped and broke something. That happens a lot when we have these marginal events and it doesn't seem like a big ice storm, and it's not a big ice storm, but we have a little bit of ice that can cause you problems tomorrow morning. Okay, end of sermon. So that's the situation tonight. There's snow down in the Portland area. There's a little light snow in Olympia. Let me refresh this image. And we don't have a new image there from Olympia. We have a little snow there. Let me go back to the current view. Here we are. This is a radar image of a little snow trying to reach the surface around Puget Sound. Looks like Seattle, the SeaTac Airport. Nobody's reporting snow at the moment. Except for Stampede Pass, light snow and freezing fog. Traveling across the passes, be wary of some patchy ice as well as some snow. Once we get into the day tomorrow, we'll still have a bit of snow over here around Puget Sound, over here around Hood Canal. These areas, Seebeck, I'll take so you can see Hood Canal right there. Brennan, Seebeck, Hoodsport, Skokomish, Belfair. You get the idea. Across the western part of Hood Canal, I expect us to have a significant amount of snow, 2 to 4 inches, isolated 6-inch totals. That rapidly falls off back over here toward Gorston, Bremerton, and Port Orchard. You could still wind up with a slushy inch of snow, but I'm not expecting much. So Seattle, Bellevue, a dusting to perhaps a slushy inch of snow. North of Seattle, we're likely not to see any snow. The chances are there, though, for freezing rain and a little bit of patchy ice early tomorrow morning. Fortunately, we're getting out of this, getting into the night, I should say, with less moisture than we otherwise would have, and that is some good news, because otherwise we might have a bigger problem on our hands with freezing rain and ice into tomorrow morning. Right now, it looks like a very minor event, and then tomorrow by early to mid-afternoon, some warm rain is coming and likely just washed away the any snow that falls, as well as ice that has accumulated during the early morning hours, likely washing away in some slightly warmer rain tomorrow afternoon with highs in the 40s. Yeah, by the way, go Hawks. And if you're traveling through the passes, it will be a little bit tougher tomorrow. So, Kenneth, nothing in Bellevue. I think in Bellevue we'll see a bit of snow here in the next few hours. It's not going to amount to much, but we could get a dusting to perhaps a slushy inch of snow. I don't expect much, though. A winter weather advisory, however, has been issued for areas from about Everett to Seattle south, and then a winter storm warning is in effect for Hood Canal. So, right, freezing rain tonight, that's more of a threat after, say, about 10 o'clock to midnight, because we'll have warmer air coming in. That's the second column here on this graphic. Warmer air aloft, and so we'll have liquid raindrops. It won't be much. In fact, the moisture looks to be really scant, so a few pockets of light showers or some drizzle, not heavy freezing rain. But anything that we have could well freeze on untreated surfaces, so untreated roads, side roads, alleys, sidewalks, driveways, railings, decks, patios. Just be careful overnight and tomorrow morning, because you might not be able to see the ice. We're looking at less than a tenth of an inch of ice accumulation or less in many areas, and that's not much. That might not be enough for you to really even see that there's some ice out there. So be careful early tomorrow morning. The problem with any ice will be gone tomorrow afternoon. So Candy, waiting for snow in Seebeck. I think you'll get some tonight and tomorrow morning. Hey, Tom. The snow is evaporating before it reaches the ground. That is correct, Sarah. As far as we did have a few reports a little earlier of some snow reaching the ground at the Narrows Airport as well as Olympia. Now, right now, the humidity in Seattle is at 44%. So you see this massive, what appears to be heavier snow around King County. A lot of that's not reaching the ground. However, as that came through Olympia and Tacoma, with the humidities also in the 40 to 60% range, we did have the observation by the airport observing stations there of a little bit of light snow, mainly just flurries. So we do have to moisten up the atmosphere before we can get a good amount of precipitation to come to the ground. That does look to happen later this evening and into tonight. So no snow north of Seattle. Julie, the chances of that are pretty low as far as sticking snow, but it's not out of the question. But as we go north of Seattle, the dry air, as Sarah mentioned, is much more entrenched, and it will be harder to get snow to fall before we change over to rain/freezing rain tonight and tomorrow morning. But the moisture after about 10 o'clock to midnight tonight is going to be pretty slim. So I don't expect much. I don't expect any locations to see a significant snowfall except for some higher elevations in southern Washington and also around Hood Canal, Seebeck, Hoodsport, possibly down to Shelton, where you could definitely have a few inches of snow into tomorrow morning. Let's see here. Bellingham, Julie, probably not, but a little ice is possible for you early tomorrow morning. Pat, the south end, you have a better chance of getting, some snow here in the next few hours, some light snow, and then that freezing rain threat. The farther south you go toward Portland, the worse things get, especially once you get south of Tacoma and Olympia tonight and early tomorrow morning. Lara, pardon me, it's bring on a blizzard. It's Laura, apparently, from your pronunciation. Bring on a blizzard. This is not going to be a blizzard at all. Our pattern, though, for wintry weather continues over the rest of January and even into February. The temperatures are looking like they'll be supportive of something. If we can get the cold air to come in at the right time, the cold air to come in when we get good moisture coming off the Pacific Ocean, that's our good recipe. Unfortunately for snow lovers, what we've had so far, more or less this winter season, and back in the fall, is cold coming in and quickly drying up any moisture that's there, or moisture coming out of the Pacific Ocean as the cold air is starting to weaken its grip, so to speak. We just haven't had that perfect combination to get heavy snowfall so far. Elizabeth, I just came off. Yeah, Elizabeth says I work too hard. I appreciate that. I do like to keep you updated, and that's why this is the first time I've done this from home. Thought I'd get in front of a map here, background. The lighting is not great. I'll work on the lighting as we going forward, but being able to give you a few looks at what I'm seeing over the weekend time frame, and I'll hop on here from time to time during the weekdays too if I see something interesting, or just to post videos, just to record some quick videos with maps. I thought since I just set this up, I'd go ahead and go full on with a Facebook Live and see if everything worked okay, and apparently it does, because I haven't used this particular microphone. It's a professional microphone I've had for a little while. Let me put that back down. Sorry, I'm sure you'll hear me moving that around in a long time. So apparently it works okay. So that's great to hear. I did just come off a 12-day stretch. This is my first day off of work, off of TV since Christmas Day. Snowing in Carbonado, Gene. Great. Yeah, down in the south, we're seeing some of that snow. Unfortunately, we do have the coastal radar inoperative. National Weather Service pointed out that it went down once again, and we certainly would like to have that up so we could see a little bit better across the south. No snow in Arlington. Cindy doesn't want any snow in Arlington. You know, the snow chances are pretty low for you. The better chance is a little bit of patchy ice early tomorrow morning. It's not likely to amount to much, but the road surfaces are receptive, if you will, to a little bit of ice. So that's something that we could see tomorrow morning anywhere in Puget Sound. Don't run out of the house without looking to see if there's a little ice on your way to your car or way to your where you pick up your paper tomorrow morning if you're taking the dog out for a walk. And that goes for sea level too. That goes for downtown Seattle. That goes for Tacoma, for Everett. Even if you're in the city and you think, well, that's an outlying area issue. Our temperatures are going to be cold enough that the little precipitation that we have overnight, once we get done with a little light snow in the next few hours, a little light snow, between now and about 9 or 10 o'clock, temperatures aloft are going to be warming. And when those temperatures aloft warm, and that's the second scene here with freezing rain, where you have warmer temperatures aloft, but it stays cold at the surface, that's when we could get a little bit of glaze of ice. Meteorologist Kelly Franson is going to be on here in a little more than half an hour on Cairo 7, looking at what we have going forward into tonight. Let me check Olympia again, see how they're doing. A new picture from Olympia Airport. Nothing major there. It looks like we have a little light snow. And this is from Coin 6 out of Portland. That's Mount Hood. Dayton, Oregon, Stevenson, Washington, in the south part. Portland's just really gotten it over the past, week. The problem that they have down in Portland is often with an easterly wind, and the wind is coming out of the gorge here into Portland, it piles up cold air here in the Portland area. And that is just a setup for snow and or ice. Up here in western Washington, yes, we have some gusty winds toward the Cascades this afternoon. It's bringing in drier air, so that's helping to evaporate what little snow that's falling out right now. But later tonight, we'll moisten up the atmospheric column, if you will, the spot between the. Let me go back over to this scene. And I'll show you Portland again. I wasn't on that scene. I apologize. Some easterly wind comes down from the Dalles through Stevenson that we just saw a picture from with some snow there. Easterly winds down the gorge into the Portland area, and that's why they have snow and freezing rain a lot of the time there in the Portland area. Up here, we have a larger mountain range, but we do have a few gaps there, of course. Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie Pass, and we have some winds coming from the east to west out of central Washington. So some gusty winds and a wind advisory is in effect for areas susceptible to gap winds along the Cascades this afternoon. That is helping to feed, as we go into the evening, some drier air in. So what you see here as snow in the Central Sound sure could be a few flurries, but isn't substantial. We will be moistening things up from the top down in the atmosphere tonight. And that's why after we get beyond about 10 o'clock to midnight, even though moisture will be pretty scant still, I'm concerned with a little bit of freezing rain or a little glaze early tomorrow morning. Let's see here. Is Puyallup going to get snow? You have a better chance there in Puyallup, Malika, to get some snow. Kitsap County, Andrew, western Kitsap County, Hood Canal, snow time. We have a winter storm warning there around Hood Canal, and we'll have some snow tonight and early tomorrow morning. That could be several inches, but we're really talking about Seebeck and Brennan and Belfair and Hoodsport, around Scenic Beach State Park, some more snow. And I heard yesterday that there's still plenty of snow on the ground at Seebeck, and that's certainly what we would expect. So hi from Bremerton, no snow yet. Yes, Sarah, snow fun, ice bad, Sarah says. I completely agree with you. Right, Amy, the radar has been indicating snow in the SeaTac area for a while, but there has been no visible precipitation. Does this mean it is snowing? And I lost your comment there. I understand what you're saying. Let me stop this, and what I'll do, it might be difficult to see the numbers here. Those numbers are in blue. And what I'll do is go forward to the current time, and I'll change this from temperature over to dew point. Dew points are in the 15, 16, 18 at Boeing Field, 18 at Gig Harbor Airport, 20 McCord Field. The difference between temperature and dew point gives us humidity, relative humidity. And the relative humidity at last check, at the last update at SeaTac Airport, was 44%. Generally, for snow to reach the ground, I would want to see that 60, 70%, meaning that the atmosphere is more moist and those snowflakes are not just poof, disappearing on their way to the ground. So what we're seeing here, as far as the snow on the radar is detecting snowflakes in the cloud and falling down to the ground, but not reaching the ground for the most part. Now, there has been a little bit of light snow reaching the ground because we did have the automated stations in Olympia as well as Tacoma at the airports reporting light snow for a brief time, even though the humidity levels were in the 40 to 60% range. So we're mainly talking about flurries. It's later this evening when more moisture comes in from the south that I expect a little bit of light snow. Not accumulating to much. Overnight, as we go into the setup where on the second column here we have a little bit of warm air aloft, we could actually get raindrops or drizzle or mist to come down and actually freeze on contact with surfaces. That's what I'm concerned about tomorrow morning. Not snow, aside from around Hood Canal. Around Hood Canal, over here from Seebeck down toward Hoodsport, possibly down to Shelton, over to Belfair, and then back up toward the Quilcene area. So right on this western part of Hood Canal, winter storm warning is in effect because we'll hold on to colder air here while the rest of us see either rain or freezing rain. Overnight tonight and early tomorrow morning, we'll hold on to snow in that area. So that's the situation right now with what we're seeing on radar. But yes, a little bit of light snow reaching the ground, but not everything that you see on the radar image here. So that's the deal for this afternoon. I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking at. I'll go through the forecast models real quick once again before I leave you. And let's take a look at the high-resolution rapid refresh model showing that little bit of light rain or flurries, a lot of that not reaching the ground right now. And then look at that overnight. It's boy, the rapid refresh model is really dry until we get into the early hours of tomorrow morning. And this would be about daybreak tomorrow morning. As that rain moves in, temperatures in some spots will be below freezing, and so will untreated roads be susceptible to a little bit of snow, or a little bit of ice rather, tomorrow morning. The snow threat pretty much is over after about 10 o'clock to midnight tonight, and we're not going to get much except around Hood Canal. And there is the overnight look, not much moisture. Tomorrow, late morning, afternoon, we get warmer temperatures to come in, and it's all rain. And then, let's go out for the rest of the week. Why not? Let's see how this model performs, because it had been pointing at, oh my gosh, a major snowstorm Wednesday, Thursday, milk and bread flying off the shelves. Well, it has totally backed off on that. It's showing dry and cold. That's why I don't trust a forecast model a week out. And here we go into fantasy land later in January. It's a fool's errand to look at forecast models more than a week out, except to look at trends. Trends of, okay, are we going to have a large mass of cold air coming down, as opposed to finer details like rain or snow? So bottom line, as we go into tomorrow morning, watch out, because road surfaces are going to be near or below freezing, and we'll have a little bit of drizzle or freezing rain overnight tonight and into early tomorrow. In the meantime, for the Hawks game, go Hawks, we'll probably get a few snowflakes or at least some flurries to fly at CenturyLink Field. I'm hoping at least, or it will be completely dry. We still have, nature still has some work to do. Sorry, hit the microphone. Nature still has some work to do to get more moisture to reach the ground. We've got to moisten up that atmosphere before we can get snow to really come down. And it doesn't look like much will come down, except for around Hood Canal, where you have a winter storm warning in effect. So yes, the possibility of some freezing rain early tomorrow morning, but mainly freezing drizzle or light freezing rain in Elizabeth. Good night. Go Hawks, absolutely. Bruce, Midwest people know that. It's snowing in Lacey, Damon says. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're not in the Midwest. Jan, broken wrists and hips. Watch out early tomorrow morning. Just watch out. Your first step could be a nasty one if you don't take a look there at the possibility of at least ice on your front stoop tomorrow, or your sidewalk, or your driveway. So be careful early tomorrow morning. And Jan, the temperature in Seattle right now is a balmy 36 degrees. So we go over here to this view. It is 36 at SeaTac, 38 at Boeing Field. So any overnight snow events this upcoming week, Morgan? Not likely. The possibility is still there Wednesday, Thursday, possibly into Friday, but it's looking drier at this point. So Kate says, growing up in Maryland, you're used to it. Bring on the snow and ice. I'm hoping for snow. Unfortunately, Hood Canal and the mountains are really the only places likely to see that to any significant extent tonight. Ice is more of a concern early tomorrow morning, and that goes for North Seattle as well, Linda. The possibility of a little glaze of ice on the sidewalks. The less well-traveled, the treated roads should be fine, because our temperatures are marginal. The melting agent that they have put out there, the de-icer, should take care of that just fine, because the moisture that comes in tonight and early tomorrow morning won't be significant enough to, that as these images load, it sort of blinks there. The moisture that comes in tonight is not going to be significant enough to wash away that de-icer, so it should still do its job. And Heather, when did the foothills wind die down? Not until tomorrow. The wind advisory is going to still be in effect. We'll look at that beginning to subside during the day tomorrow. So when will the snow leave my yard in South Everett, Suzanne asks. In South Everett, likely tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Monday, because we'll have some warmer rain coming in. And Hood Canal winter storm warning, that is still in effect for the Hood Canal region, Jerry. Teresa, Maple Valley, sure, a little bit of light snow in the coming few hours, and then some light freezing rain or freezing drizzle overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So the ice on the roads, Jerry, won't be a big problem, but it will be an issue in some of the less well-traveled areas and some of the untreated roads. Jamie, you're driving from Spanaway to Port Angeles around 4:30 a.m. Do I need extra time? That's going to be a time when you'll want to take specific precaution and be really careful for any ice that could be falling and freezing on the roads, especially bridges and overpasses. I would suggest staying to the major roads, the biggest, most well-traveled roads you can to get from Spanaway to Port Angeles. I know that that's not always possible going from Spanaway to Port Angeles, but definitely stay on the main roads, the main thoroughfares, headed there early tomorrow morning. So Seebeck is still frozen. Chris, if you get more snow, I want to see it. Bellingham, Karen, you're likely not to see much in the way of snowfall tonight. That's mainly Seattle south, and even then not accumulating much. And then the possibility is there of a little bit of light freezing drizzle in early tomorrow morning. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you because Kelly Franson's getting ready for Cairo 7 at 5 o'clock. I got a new computer, and I've had this microphone here. It's a great microphone. It's PR40 from Heil Sound. It's a really good mic. Had it for a long time and thought about cutting some videos here at home, but I thought, well, might as well hop on Facebook Live because I got a new system where I can share my screen there and stream not only to Facebook Live, but to YouTube Live as well. So I will say goodbye for this evening. I'll be around with another Facebook Live tomorrow. I'll start to do these on the weekends when I'm around and in town. Of course, I'll be out of pocket on my weekends from time to time. So be careful, everybody, through this evening. A little bit of light snow in the coming few hours, not amounting to much, except around Hood Canal, where several inches of snow will fall tonight and early tomorrow morning. But I'm more concerned about the possibility of a little bit of freezing rain. That's where liquid raindrops or just drizzle particles, water droplets is the word I'm looking for, come down and freeze on elevated surfaces, bridges, overpasses, your car hood, railings, decks, because the temperatures are below freezing of that surface. So it freezes on contact, and that could also happen with less well-traveled roads. Power lines and trees, we would generally need more than 1/4 of an inch of ice for us to start to get concerned about power lines and tree limbs, and the moisture does not look deep enough, and well, the moisture just doesn't look enough, like enough to cause those sorts of problems. So that is some good news that we can get out of this. We want some snow. I know a lot of you want some snow. I do too. We could just do without the ice. So let's let this get through tonight. Yeah, we won't get much snow. That's a bummer, but let's not have the ice, because if we had more moisture coming in, sure, we get a few inches of snow and we get ice on top of it, and that would create a mess for tomorrow. Fortunately, if ice does occur, a thin layer of ice, it will melt tomorrow afternoon as temperatures rise and we get some warmer rain. So have a great evening, everyone. Go Hawks. I'm about to settle in and watch the game here, so be careful. And again, before you set foot out the door tomorrow morning, be careful. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining me here on Facebook and for the first time on YouTube.